retirement, your widow and orphans will get a benefit, but you will get less than the present value of your money. That is how insurance companies work, and they pay someone who lives until 110 years. In the second option, if you have misbehavior in your life, have smoked a lot, never played tennis, and you die at 67, well, your wife will be very sad for your passing away, but at least she will have the full balance of your account. And of course, you can also mix both. Someone could say, okay, 50% of my capital will go for a life annuity of $2,000 a month, and the rest I will keep it in a program withdrawal, because if I die, in that case, it's inheritance, fully inherited, and I even almost eliminated the inheritance tax of personal accounts. Now, who manage all these? Of course, private companies, regulated by the government, in the sense that they must follow prudent man rules about portfolio diversification. They cannot put all the money in Google.com. You see, it may be very interesting, but you cannot put 100% of your money in Google.com, because this is retirement money. So there are some sort of prudent man diversification rules. Basically, workers can choose among 5 mutual funds. One is fully fixed income, the other extreme fully shares, and in between they are mixed. So my son, who is young, is in the fund with stocks because he believes in 40 years a well-diversified index fund of stocks will give him better than a bond fund. But my brother, who is 57, is in a fully fixed income fund. And if you don't make the choice, there is a default choice in which, depending on your age, you begin to move from funds that are fully stocked to funds that are fully bond. So the question Ezra asked, what about market risk, and what about the day before you're going to retire, the stock market goes down? Well, that is completely solved. It's very simple. 7 years before, you are in a fully bond fund. And 5 years before, you are on a short-term fixed income fund, so not even the rate of interest can change the value of your fund. So if when you are going to retire, the stock exchange goes down that day, you simply have another cappuccino and say, I have been very responsible, and that does not even touch my retirement income. Nobody should be in stocks the day before retirement. So those are kind of the criticism that well-developed financial markets, and you know them so well, you are a leading player, and you know how well financial markets can manage market risk. That's why I am so much in favor of a system like this, vis-a-vis a politically managed pay-as-you-go system, because in that one you have the political risk. And you cannot manage political risk. Who knows who will be in power in 10, 20, 30, 40 years? We do not even know who will be in power in 2 years' time. So how can you have security depending on the government position on these issues in the long term? I would much prefer to have the security that comes from a capital accumulated in my account in a prudent way than in the decisions of maybe very well-inspired people, but they may be unable to pay your benefits. And you know very well how, not only in the US, but in Europe and all over the world, already political leaders are saying, we do not know how we will keep the promises of a pay-as-you-go government-managed system. So you can manage market risk. Political risk is a completely exogenous variable. So if you want security for old age, this is a national defined contribution, fully funded, well-regulated, well-designed system. And finally, what is the role of the government in all this? Of course, providing a safety net. The basic inspiration here is personal responsibility. You save for old age. Every worker, as I said, had that 10% that was the old payroll tax, but you can put another 10% on top of that, all tax-free, incidentally, if you want to retire before the legal retirement age, or if you want to retire at the retirement age, but with an income that is even higher to your last wage. You want to be a very rich old person. Well, it's your life, your freedom. I was also astonished during those years in America that you have so much choice about everything except when to retire. And I cannot see any other variable except the health maybe of your family that is more important for human happiness than to be able to decide when to retire, because it happens that some of us would like to work forever. I am sure that I will be 95-year-old still showing a little passbook around the world in some country of Africa, or maybe in France, I don't know. But that is a joke. But a lot of my friends would like to retire at 55. They don't like their job. They have a lot of grandchildren. They want to become bad poets, a lot of them, you see. You begin to write poetry, and you can publish it with your own money, so it's easy nowadays. So why the government should tell you when you retire? It's an incredible idea that if you think inside the Bismarckian box, you accept it. But if you come from another mindset, you said, why the government is telling me when to retire? Well, in Chile, you can retire whenever you want, as long as you have accumulated enough money in your account to buy an annuity equal to 50% of your last wages. So if someone at 30 planned with his or her family that they want to retire at 55, they go to a friendly computer, they calculate how much money extra to the 10% they must put in their account, let's say 13.1, they go to their employer and tell the employer, please withdraw now 13.1. Why? Because I want to retire at 55. It's my life, my choice, my money. And at 55, they retire with their own money, not with a retirement paid by someone else. And if you want to go on working, you continue to accumulate money in your account if you want, or you could begin withdrawing from the account. So now even the term retirement has been changed. At 65, you can begin retiring money from your account. Doesn't mean that you have to retire from work. You can both keep on working, or keep on half-time working, or keep on working 1 hour. At 65, you can begin retiring money from your account. Whether you work or not, again, is your life, your decision, and we do not overtax that person because they work. So, choice, freedom, in a context, of course, of having a safety net for the very poor. So if someone does not accumulate enough income at 65 in order to finance a minimum pension, then the government, out of general tax revenues, not of a special pay-as-you-go system, but of general tax revenue, feel the difference. And the government only feels the difference. And this is very important because, again, some of my advisors initially said, José, why don't we simply term as poor some people and exempt them from the possibility of saving? And I said, no, nobody is poor at 20 necessarily. You have a life of opportunity in front of you, especially in America. You can go up, you can work hard, you can be lucky, you can be talented, you can whatever. So no, everyone, even the minimum wage person, is in the system. Now, at 65, it could happen that you have been unemployed for 20 years because of a family crisis or whatever. At that moment, the compassion of society, in my view, should show, elevating everyone to a minimum. But what the government does, and that requires much less money, is not to pay the full minimum pension, but only the difference between what the person has accumulated and the minimum pension defined by society through the political process. So that's how the system works. Now, a very important challenge is, of course, designing a transition. It's completely different. I have been in some countries, South Africa, for example, that I understand do not have a pay-as-you-go. So in that case, you have only to build the system of personal retirement account, a defined contribution system that I am very much in favor. But in countries like the US, Europe, Latin America, where you have a pay-as-you-go system, you have to finance the transition. Now, I placed two key definitions here. The first one is that I went on television making extremely clear that we will keep the promises to the elderly people and to those who were close to retirement age. I call it, we will protect your grandmother check. I use that expression because it comes home. It will be completely unfair to tell a widow of 80 years old making $1,000, look, we will have to decrease your benefit by 20%.